Marcus opened his eyes slowly as the morning sun came through the small window of the shelter. He had not slept well. The sounds of other people coughing and moving around kept him awake most of the night. He sat up on his thin mattress and rubbed his tired eyes. 3 months. It had been 3 months since he lost his apartment. 3 months since his life changed completely. He looked around the room. There were about 20 other people sleeping on beds just like his. Some were already awake. Some were still sleeping. Marcus knew their faces now. He knew their names. John, who used to work at a factory. Sarah, who lost her home after getting sick. David, who was a veteran. They all had stories. They all had lives before this place. Marcus reached under his bed and pulled out his backpack. It was old and had holes in it, but it held everything he owned now. He opened it carefully and looked inside. There were 2 shirts, 1 pair of jeans, some socks, a toothbrush, and his most important possession. His notebook. The notebook was small and black. The cover was worn from being touched so many times. Marcus held it in his hands like it was made of gold. Inside this notebook were all his musical compositions, all his songs, all his dreams written in notes and symbols that most people could not understand. But Marcus understood them. Music was his language. It was the one thing that made sense when nothing else did. He opened the notebook and looked at the pages. There were so many songs. Songs he wrote when he was happy, songs he wrote when he was sad, songs he wrote when he was angry at the world, and songs he wrote here in this shelter when he felt like giving up. The pages were filled with his handwriting. Messy sometimes, but always full of feeling. Marcus had been playing piano since he was 7 years old. His mother bought him lessons with money she saved from her job at the grocery store. She always told him he was special. She said his fingers were made for music. When he played, she would sit and listen with tears in her eyes. She believed in him more than anyone else ever did. He went to a good music school, a very good school. People said he had talent. His teacher said he could be great one day. He practiced for hours every day. His fingers knew the piano keys like they knew his own name. When he played, the whole world disappeared. There was only the music and him. Nothing else mattered, but life had other plans for Marcus. First, his mother got sick, very sick. He spent all his money on doctors and medicine. Then she died. After that, everything fell apart. He got into a car accident. His car was destroyed and he had to pay a lot of money. Then the company he worked for closed down. He lost his job. He tried to find another job, but nobody wanted to hire him. The bills piled up. The rent was due. And one day he came home to find a letter on his door. He had to leave his apartment in 30 days. Marcus tried everything. He asked friends for help, but they had their own problems. He looked for any job he could find. He sold everything he owned except his backpack and his notebook. But it was not enough. 30 days came and went, and Marcus found himself on the street with nowhere to go. That was 3 months ago. Now he lived in this shelter. He was grateful for it. At least he had a bed. At least he had a roof over his head. But it was not home. It would never be home. The one thing that hurt Marcus the most was not having a piano. He missed it every single day. His fingers felt empty without keys to press. His heart felt empty without music to play. Sometimes he would sit in the shelter and move his fingers in the air, pretending he was playing. People thought he was crazy when they saw him do this, but he did not care. It was the only way he could feel close to music again. Marcus got dressed and put his notebook safely back in his backpack. He walked to the bathroom and washed his face with cold water. He looked at himself in the mirror. His face looked older now, tired. His clothes were clean but worn. He had patches on his jeans where holes used to be. His shirt was too big for him because he had lost weight. But his eyes still had something in them. A small spark. Hope, maybe. Or maybe just stubbornness. He was not ready to give up yet. After breakfast at the shelter, Marcus walked outside. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining and the air was warm. He did not have anywhere special to go. He never did. Most days he just walked around the city, thinking about his life and wondering how things would get better. Today he decided to go to the mall. The big mall in the center of the city. He had been there a few times before. It was warm inside and nobody bothered him if he just sat on a bench. Sometimes he would watch people shopping and imagine having money again, having a normal life again. But mostly he went there because of the piano. In the middle of the mall, in the big open area where all the stores connected, there was a piano, a beautiful grand piano. It was shiny and black and perfect. Marcus had seen it many times. Every time he walked past it, his heart would beat faster. His fingers would itch to touch the keys. But he never did. There was always a sign next to it that said, "Community Piano, all welcome." But Marcus never felt welcome. He knew how people looked at him. He knew what they thought when they saw his old clothes and his worn face. They did not see a musician. They saw a poor man, a homeless man, someone who did not belong. But today felt different. Marcus could not explain why. Maybe it was the sunshine. Maybe it was the song in his head that he had been writing for weeks. Or maybe he was just tired of being afraid. As he walked through the mall entrance, he made a decision. Today, he would play that piano. Just once, just for a few minutes. He needed to feel the keys under his fingers again. He needed to hear real music instead of just the music in his head. His heart was beating fast as he walked through the mall. People passed by him carrying shopping bags. Families with children walked past eating ice cream. Teenagers laughed and talked with their friends. Nobody looked at him. He was invisible to them, just another person in the crowd. Then he saw it. The piano. It was in the center court, right under the big glass ceiling where sunlight poured in. The piano seemed to glow in the light. Marcus stopped walking. He just stood there staring at it. It was the most beautiful thing he had seen in months. He walked closer slowly. His hands were shaking. His mouth was dry. The piano was even more beautiful up close. He could see his reflection in the shiny black surface. He looked at the keys. Perfect white and black keys arranged in the pattern he knew so well. The pattern that lived in his heart and in his dreams. Marcus looked around. There were a few people sitting on benches nearby. Some were looking at their phones. Some were talking to each other. Nobody was paying attention to him. This was his chance. He took a deep breath and reached out his hand toward the piano keys. "Don't touch my piano, poor guy." The voice was loud and angry. Marcus jumped back like he had been hit. His heart almost stopped. He turned around and saw a man walking toward him very fast. The man was wearing an expensive suit and shiny shoes. His face was red and angry. He pointed his finger at Marcus like Marcus had done something terrible. "Did you hear me? Don't touch that piano," the man shouted again. Marcus could not speak. His throat felt tight. He could feel everyone in the area staring at him now. All the invisible people were suddenly watching. He felt his face get hot with shame. The man in the suit came closer. He was the mall's events director. His name was Richard Blackwell, and he was responsible for all the special events and displays in the mall. He looked at Marcus with disgust, seeing only the worn clothes and the cheap backpack. "We have a professional pianist performing here tonight," Richard said in a loud voice. "I will not have vagrants putting their dirty hands on this expensive instrument." "Security!" 2 security guards started walking toward them. Marcus felt panic rise in his chest. He held his backpack tighter. He was not doing anything wrong. The sign said "all welcome," but he knew it did not really mean him. It never meant people like him. "Sir, I just wanted to play for a moment," Marcus said quietly. His voice was shaking. "The sign says—" "I don't care what the sign says," Richard interrupted. "This piano is for the community event tonight, not for people like you. Now move along before I have you removed from the mall." Marcus felt tears start to form in his eyes. He hated that he wanted to cry. He hated feeling so small and worthless. He hated that this man could make him feel this way just because of how he looked. Just because he was poor. The security guards reached them. They stood on either side of Marcus, waiting for orders. People were definitely watching now. Some had their phones out. Marcus felt like he was in a nightmare. All he wanted was to touch the piano, to play music, to feel human again for a few minutes.
"Wait just a moment, young man." A new voice joined the conversation.
It was gentle but firm. An older woman walked up to the group. She had gray hair and kind eyes. She was carrying shopping bags and looked like somebody's grandmother. She looked right at Richard Blackwell with the expression that made even him pause. "Excuse me, but I have been coming to this mall for 15 years, the woman said calmly. "And that sign has always said all welcome, not some welcome, not only nice-looking people welcome, all welcome." Richard's face got even more red. "Ma'am, with all respect, we have a professional performance tonight and this gentleman," the woman interrupted, pointing at Marcus, "has just as much right to play this piano as anyone else. That is what the sign says. That is what you advertise. Or do your words not mean anything?" Other people started nodding. Someone said, "She's right." Another person said, "Let him play." Richard looked around and realized that the situation was getting out of his control. People were watching. Some were recording on their phones. This could become a problem for the mall if he was not careful. "Fine," Richard said through tight lips. 2 minutes. You get 2 minutes to play and then you leave this piano alone, and do not touch it again after today. Do you understand? Marcus nodded quickly. He could not believe it. He was actually going to get to play. His hands were shaking even more now, but it was not from fear anymore. It was from excitement and nervousness and joy all mixed together. The elderly woman smiled at him. "Go ahead, dear," she said softly. "Show them what you can do." Marcus walked to the piano bench. It felt like walking through a dream. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. He sat down on the bench. It was comfortable, expensive. He put his backpack carefully on the floor next to him. Then he looked at the keys. They were so close now, right in front of him, real, waiting. His fingers hovered over them, shaking. Richard stood behind him with his arms crossed, looking at his watch. The security guards waited nearby. The crowd of people had grown larger. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Everyone wanted to see if this poor-looking man could really play, or if he was just wasting their time. Marcus closed his eyes. He had to shut them out, all of them. Richard with his anger, the guards with their suspicion, the crowd with their judgment. He needed to be alone with the music. Just him and the piano. Just him and the song that had been building inside him for 3 months. He took one deep breath, then another. He let all the pain of the last 3 months flow through him. The loss of his mother, the accident, losing his job, losing his home, sleeping in a shelter, being invisible, being nobody, all of it. He felt it all. Then his fingers touched the keys, and everything changed. The first note rang out clear and pure through the mall. Then another note, then another. Marcus began to play, and the music that came from the piano was unlike anything the people there had ever heard before. It was not just playing. It was not just pressing keys. It was something deeper, something from the soul. His fingers moved across the keys like they were dancing, like they had been waiting their whole life for this moment. The music started soft and gentle like a whisper. It was sad but beautiful. It told a story without words, a story of loss and pain and struggle. The crowd stopped talking. People who were walking past stopped moving. They turned to look at where the music was coming from. More people started gathering. The security guards forgot why they were there. Even Richard Blackwell stood with his mouth slightly open, his arms falling to his sides. Marcus played with his eyes closed. He did not see any of this. He was somewhere else now. He was in the music. The melody grew stronger, more powerful. His hands moved faster across the keys, playing notes that seemed impossible to play so smoothly. The song grew from sadness to something else. Hope, rising from the darkness like the sun rising in the morning. People in the crowd began to cry. They did not know why. They did not know this man or his story, but the music spoke to something inside them. Something human. Something real. The music said everything that words could never say. About pain. About survival. About refusing to give up even when everything seems lost. The melody soared higher and higher, filling every corner of the mall. People on the upper floors came to the railings to look down. Store workers came out of their shops. Everyone stopped what they were doing to listen. Phones were held up everywhere, recording this unexpected moment, this gift. Marcus's face was peaceful as he played. For the first time in 3 months, he felt like himself again. Not a homeless man. Not a failure. Not someone to be pitied or feared. Just Marcus, a musician, playing the music that lived in his soul. The song began to slow down again, gentle again, soft, like saying goodbye to something precious. The notes became quieter, more delicate, like raindrops, like whispers. And then after what felt like both seconds and hours, Marcus played the final note. He held it, letting it ring out pure and clear until it slowly faded into silence. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The mall was completely silent. Marcus sat at the piano with his eyes still closed, his hands still resting on the keys. Tears ran down his cheeks.
He did not try to hide them.
Then the applause began. It started with one person clapping. Then another. Then suddenly everyone was clapping. The The sound was like thunder echoing through the mall. People were not just clapping politely. They were cheering, shouting, some were crying openly. The applause went on and on and on. It was the loudest sound Marcus had ever heard. He opened his eyes slowly, confused by the noise. He turned around and saw the crowd. There were hundreds of people now, all of them looking at him, all of them clapping for him, for his music. He could not believe it. He looked at their faces and saw something he had not seen in a long time. Respect, admiration, recognition. The elderly woman who had stood up for him was crying and smiling at the same time. She gave him a thumbs up. Even the security guards were clapping, and Richard Blackwell stood there looking stunned, like he had just witnessed something he could not explain. His face was no longer red with anger. It was pale with shock. Marcus stood up slowly, his legs shaking. He did not know what to do. He had never performed for so many people before. He gave a small bow and the crowd cheered even louder. People were shouting things at him. Amazing. Incredible. Where did you learn to play like that?
Who are you?
He picked up his backpack and started to walk away, but people surrounded him. They wanted to shake his hand. They wanted to tell him how beautiful the music was. An older man with tears in his eyes said, "Young man, that was the most beautiful thing I have heard in my whole life." A woman said, "You have a gift from God." A teenager said, "Dude, that was insane." Marcus did not know what to say to any of them. He kept saying thank you over and over. His voice was quiet and humble. He was overwhelmed. All he had wanted was to play piano for 2 minutes. He never expected this. Richard Blackwell pushed through the crowd and came to Marcus. For a moment, Marcus thought he was in trouble again, but Richard's face had completely changed. He looked embarrassed and ashamed. Richard started, then stopped. He did not know what to say. "I apologize. I judged you wrongly. That was extraordinary. I have never heard anyone play like that." He paused. "The professional pianist we hired for tonight. I do not think he will sound as good as what you just played." Marcus did not know how to respond. He just nodded. "Please," Richard continued, "feel free to play that piano anytime you want. Anytime. You are always welcome here." More people wanted to talk to Marcus, but he felt overwhelmed. He needed air. He needed space. He politely excused himself and walked toward the exit. As he left, people were still talking about what they had just heard. He could hear their voices behind him. "Did you record it?" "Yes. I got the whole thing. I'm posting this online right now. This is going to go viral. Who was that guy?" Marcus walked out into the sunshine and sat down on a bench outside the mall. His hands were still shaking. His heart was beating fast. He could not believe what just happened. For 2 minutes, no, it was longer than 2 minutes, nobody had stopped him. For those minutes, he had been alive again, really alive, doing what he was meant to do. He looked at his hands, these hands that pressed piano keys, these hands that created beauty, these hands that just made hundreds of people feel something real. They were the same hands that Richard Blackwell called dirty. The same hands he did not want touching his precious piano. Marcus opened his backpack and took out his notebook. He found a blank page and began writing notes. The song he just played had been in his head for weeks, but he had never written it down completely. Now he needed to remember every note, every phrase exactly as he played it. His hands moved quickly across the page, drawing the lines and dots that represented the music. As he wrote, he did not notice that his life was about to change. He did not know that right at that moment, dozens of people were uploading videos of his performance to the internet. Marcus walked back to the shelter that evening feeling different. He could not explain it exactly, but something inside him had changed. The walk took him about 40 minutes. He used this time to think about what happened at the mall. Every few steps he would smile without meaning to. His fingers would move slightly, remembering the feel of the piano keys. When he arrived at the shelter, it was almost dinner time. The smell of food came from the kitchen. Marcus went to his bed and put his backpack down. He saw John, the older man who slept 2 beds away from him. John was sitting on his bed reading a newspaper he had found somewhere. "You look happy today," John said, looking up. "Something good happen?" Marcus smiled. "I played piano today. A real piano." John nodded. "That's good. I remember you told me you used to play." Where did you find a piano? At the mall. The big one downtown. There's a community piano there. Well, good for you, John said, going back to his newspaper. We all need something that makes us happy. Marcus lay down on his bed and stared at the ceiling. He thought about playing again tomorrow. Maybe he would go back to the mall. Richard said he was welcome any time, but Marcus was not sure. Maybe today was just a special moment. Maybe it would be different tomorrow. Maybe Richard would change his mind. He closed his eyes and played the song again in his mind. Every note was still fresh. He could hear it perfectly. That was one of his gifts. Once he played something, he could always remember it. The music lived in his head forever. The next morning, Marcus woke up early again. He did his usual routine. Wash his face, eat breakfast, pack his backpack. But today he felt excitement instead of emptiness. He wanted to play piano again. He needed to. Yesterday had reminded him of who he really was. What he was meant to do. He walked to the mall again. It took him the same 40 minutes. When he got close, he felt nervous. What if Richard was angry now? What if yesterday was just a moment of kindness that he regretted? What if the security guards would stop him at the door? But when Marcus entered the mall, nobody stopped him. He walked toward the center court where the piano was. His heart was beating fast. There were not many people in the mall yet. It was still early morning. The stores were just opening. The piano sat there in the sunlight, waiting. Marcus looked around carefully. He did not see Richard anywhere. He did not see the security guards either. He walked to the piano slowly. Then he sat down on the bench. He put his hands on the keys and started to play. Not the same song from yesterday. A different song. One he wrote last week. It was gentler, more hopeful, like morning sunlight. As he played, a few people stopped to listen. An old couple on their morning walk. A young woman who worked in one of the stores. A man drinking coffee. They stood and listened for a few minutes, then smiled at Marcus and went on their way. Nobody bothered him. Nobody told him to stop. Marcus played for about 20 minutes. Then he stopped, said thank you quietly to the small group that had gathered, and left. He felt good. Really good. Maybe he could do this every day. Maybe this could become part of his routine. What Marcus did not know was that something was happening on the internet. Something big. The videos from yesterday were spreading. Fast. Very fast. One woman who recorded his performance posted it on social media before she even left the mall. She wrote, "This homeless man just played the most beautiful piano music I've ever heard. This is what talent looks like." Her video was shared 10 times in the first hour, then 100 times, then 1,000. By the morning after Marcus's performance, the video had been viewed over 1 million times. Comments poured in from all over the world. "This is incredible. Who is this man?" This made me cry. Someone needs to help him. He plays like an angel. This is what real talent looks like, not the fake stuff on TV. Other people who had been at the mall also posted their videos. Different angles, different lengths, but all showing the same thing. A man in worn clothes sitting at a piano creating magic. The hashtag "the mall pianist" started trending. News websites picked up the story. Homeless pianist stuns mall. Shoppers with beautiful performance. Unknown, musical genius discovered at shopping, mall. Viral video shows homeless man's incredible piano skills. But Marcus knew nothing about any of this. He did not have a smartphone. He did not use social media. He did not read news websites. He was completely unaware that his face and his music were being seen by millions of people around the world. He went back to the shelter in the afternoon. When he walked in, something was different. People were looking at him, staring. Sarah, the woman who was usually very quiet, came up to him with a big smile on her face. Marcus, you're famous," she said excitedly. Marcus looked confused. What are you talking about?" "Come here." "Come see." Sarah pulled him toward the common room where there was an old television. A group of people were gathered around it. They were watching the news. And on the screen, Marcus saw himself, sitting at the piano, playing. The video was from yesterday. His mouth fell open. He could not believe what he was seeing. The news reporter was talking about him, about the viral video, about how millions of people had watched it, about how everyone was trying to find out who he was. "That's you," someone shouted. "That's really you." Marcus stood frozen, watching the screen. The video showed him playing, his eyes closed, lost in the music. Then it showed the crowd applauding. The reporter said, "The identity of this talented pianist remains unknown, but social media users are calling him the mall pianist. Many are offering to help him." The video has now been viewed over 5 million times and counting. 5 million times. Marcus could not understand that number. It seemed impossible. He just played piano for a few minutes. How could 5 million people watch that? The shelter director, a kind man named Mr. Peterson, came into the room. He looked at Marcus with surprise and happiness. "Marcus, I need to talk to you. My phone has been ringing all morning. News reporters, TV stations, they all want to find the man from the video. I told them we need to ask you first if you want to talk to them." Marcus felt dizzy. This was too much, too fast. Yesterday he was just a homeless man nobody noticed. Today he was on the news. Today 5 million people had seen him play. It did not feel real. I don't understand, Marcus said quietly. "I just played piano. That's all I did." Mr. Peterson smiled. "Sometimes that's all it takes. You touched people's hearts. Your music moved them. And now they want to know who you are. They want to help you. There are donations coming in for you already. People are asking how they can support you." Marcus sat down heavily on a chair. His hands were shaking. John came over and put a hand on his shoulder. "This is good, Marcus. This is a good thing. Don't be afraid of it." But Marcus was afraid. He was afraid of attention. He was afraid of people wanting things from him. He was afraid this was all a dream and he would wake up and it would be gone. He had lost so much already. What if he lost this too? Over the next few hours, Marcus tried to understand what was happening. Mr. Peterson showed him the videos on his phone. There were so many. Different people had recorded from different places in the mall. Some videos were short. Some were long. But all of them showed him playing, and all of them had thousands and thousands of views and comments. Marcus read some of the comments. Most of them were kind. People saying beautiful things about his music. Saying they cried, saying it touched their soul. Some people shared their own stories of hard times. Some people said they wanted to donate money to help him. Some people asked if he gave concerts. Some people wanted to know his name and his story. But there were also some mean comments. People saying the video was fake. People saying he was probably not really homeless. People saying he was just looking for attention. These comments hurt Marcus's heart, but Mr. Peterson told him to ignore them. There will always be people who doubt. Let your music speak for itself. By evening, 3 different news stations had called the shelter. They wanted to interview Marcus. They wanted to tell his story. Mr. Peterson asked Marcus what he wanted to do. Marcus was not sure. He was scared, but he also thought about what this could mean. If people knew his story, maybe it would help. Not just him, but others like him. People who were struggling. People who were invisible. "Okay," Marcus finally said. "I will do one interview, just one. With the local news station. That's all." The next day, a reporter named Jennifer Martinez came to the shelter with a cameraman. She was young and kind. She shook Marcus's hand and told him not to be nervous. They sat in the shelter's small office, and she asked him questions while the camera recorded. "Tell me about yourself, Marcus. How did you end up here?" Marcus told her everything. About his mother. About learning piano as a child. About music school. About the accident and losing his job and losing his apartment. About living in the shelter. About keeping his music alive in his notebook even when he had no piano to play. His voice shook sometimes when he talked about his mother. Jennifer had tears in her eyes when he finished. "And what was going through your mind when you sat down at that piano?" she asked. "I just wanted to play," Marcus said simply. "I hadn't touched a real piano in 3 months. I missed it so much. When that man yelled at me, I thought I would never get the chance. But then the kind lady spoke up for me." David smiled sadly. "Because I almost ended up like you once. Years ago I lost everything. My marriage fell apart. I lost my job. I was very close to being homeless. But someone helped me. Someone gave me a chance when I needed it most. I never forgot that. Now I want to do the same for someone else." Marcus felt something in his chest. Hope. Real hope. Not just the tiny flame from before. Something bigger. Something warmer. "Okay," Marcus said. "I need help. I don't know what to do with all of this." David nodded. "First thing, let's find you a proper place to live. Several people have donated money specifically to help you. There's enough for a small apartment and living expenses for several months. Will you accept that help? Marcus wanted to say no. He did not like charity. He did not like feeling like he owed people. But he was tired. So tired of the shelter, of having nowhere private to go, of living out of a backpack. Yes, he whispered. I will accept. Over the next week, David helped Marcus with everything. They found a small studio apartment not far from the shelter. It was not fancy, but it was clean and safe, and most importantly, it was his own space. Marcus cried when he got the keys. He could not remember the last time he had his own key to his own door. People donated furniture, a bed, a small table, chairs, dishes, everything Marcus needed to start over. And someone donated something else, something that made Marcus cry even harder, a piano, a beautiful upright piano. It was used but well maintained. When they brought it into his apartment and set it up, Marcus just stood and looked at it for a long time. Go ahead, David said gently. Play it. Marcus sat down at the piano bench in his own apartment. His own piano. His own space. He put his hands on the keys and played. The same song from the mall. But this time he was not playing for a crowd. He was playing for himself. For his mother who believed in him. For everyone who had helped him. For the scared man he used to be and the hopeful man he was becoming. When he finished, David was wiping tears from his eyes. That was beautiful, Marcus. Do you have more songs like that? Marcus smiled. For the first time in months, it was a real big smile. I have a whole notebook full of them. Then let's share them with the world, David said. But first you need to rest. You need to recover. You need to remember who you are. Take your time. The music will wait. But the world would not wait. The videos kept spreading. More news stories came out. Marcus's interview was shared online and got millions of views. People could not get enough of his story. The underdog. The hidden talent. The homeless man who played like a master. A week after the interview aired, something unexpected happened. The shelter called Marcus and told him someone was there to see him. When he arrived, he saw an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes. He recognized her immediately. It was Dr. Elena Kowalski, his professor from music school. One of the greatest pianists in the country. Marcus, she said, her eyes full of tears. I saw the video. I saw the interview. I cannot believe. I had no idea what happened to you. I am so sorry. I should have stayed in touch. I should have checked on my students. Marcus felt tears in his own eyes. Dr. Kowalski, it's not your fault. Life just happened. No, she said firmly. Talent like yours should never have gone unsupported. But we will fix this now. I want to help you. I want to train with you again. Your technique is still excellent, but we can make it even better. And I have connections. I can help you build a real career. Marcus could not believe this was happening. Dr. Kowalski was a legend. She had played in the greatest concert halls in the world. She had trained dozens of successful pianists, and now she was offering to mentor him again. I don't know what to say, Marcus said. Say yes, she smiled. Say you will work hard and take this second chance seriously. Yes, Marcus said. Yes, I will. Things moved very quickly after that. Dr. Kowalski arranged for Marcus to practice at the music school. She gave him private lessons 3 times a week. She helped him refine his technique. She helped him with his original compositions. She believed in him completely. David worked on the business side. He fielded offers from concert halls and recording studios. He protected Marcus from people who just wanted to use his story for money. He made sure every opportunity was real and good for Marcus's future. And the donations kept coming. People from all over the world sent money. Some sent $5. Some sent $100. Some sent more. They all wanted to help. They all wanted to see Marcus succeed. The story had touched something in people. The idea that talent could be hidden anywhere. That we should not judge people by how they look. That everyone deserves a chance. A benefit concert was organized. It would happen in 6 weeks at the city's premier theater, a beautiful old theater that seated 2,000 people. Marcus would be the main performer. Other local musicians volunteered to play too. All the money from ticket sales would go to support homeless musicians and to create music programs in shelters. Marcus could not believe it was real. 6 weeks ago, he was sleeping on a thin mattress in a shelter. He owned nothing but a backpack and a notebook. He was invisible. Now he had his own apartment, his own piano, a mentor, people who believed in him, and he was going to perform in a theater. A real concert? Like he always dreamed. But with the excitement came fear. What if he failed? What if he disappointed everyone? What if he was not good enough? What if this was all too much too fast? Dr. Kowalski saw his fear during one of their practice sessions. Marcus, she said, you are enough. Your music is enough. Do not play for the crowd. Do not play to prove anything. Play because you love it. Play because you must. That is when you are at your best. That is what people heard in that video. Truth, don't lose that. Marcus nodded. She was right. He had to remember why he played. Not for fame, not for money, but because music was who he was. It was his language, his truth. The days passed quickly. Marcus practiced every day. He worked on the songs from his notebook. Dr. Kowalski helped him arrange them for performance. They were beautiful. Each one told a story about loss, about hope, about survival, about beauty in dark times. Marcus also went back to the mall sometimes, to the piano where it all started. Richard Blackwell always greeted him warmly now. He was embarrassed about how he treated Marcus that first day. He told Marcus the piano was his anytime he wanted it. Marcus would play for an hour or two and people would gather to listen. They knew who he was now. Some asked for photos. Some just thanked him for the music. Marcus was always kind and humble with them. One afternoon, Marcus was playing at the mall when he saw the elderly woman who had stood up for him that first day. He stopped playing and walked over to her. "Hello," he said. "I wanted to thank you. You changed my life that day." The woman smiled warmly. "No, dear. You changed your own life. I just gave you the chance to show who you really are. That's all any of us need sometimes. Just a chance. What's your name?" Marcus asked. "I never got to ask you." "Margaret," she said. "Margaret Foster. And I have been following your story. I am very proud of you. Will you come to my concert?" Marcus asked. "I have a special seat reserved for you. Front row. Please come." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "I would be honored." As the concert date got closer, Marcus felt ready. Scared but ready. He had worked hard. His hands were strong. His music was prepared. Dr. Kowalski said he was ready. David said he was ready. But most importantly, Marcus felt ready in his heart. The night before the concert, Marcus sat alone in his apartment at his piano. He played through all his songs one more time. Then he just sat there in the quiet thinking about his journey. From his mother's small living room where he first learned piano, to music school where he thought his future was certain, to the accident and the losses and the fall, to the shelter and the despair. To that moment at the mall when everything changed. He thought about Richard Blackwell shouting, "Don't touch my piano, poor guy." He thought about how those words had hurt, how they had made him feel worthless. But now he understood something. Richard was wrong. Marcus was not just a poor guy. He was a musician, an artist, a person with value, and nothing. Not poverty, not homelessness, not other people's judgment. Nothing could take that away. Tomorrow he would walk onto that stage. Tomorrow he would sit at a grand piano in front of 2,000 people. Tomorrow he would close his eyes and let the music flow through him just like he did at the mall, and he would show everyone what he had always known deep inside. That he was meant to play, that music was his purpose, that he was finally home. The morning of the concert arrived with bright sunshine. Marcus woke up in his own bed in his own apartment, and for a moment he forgot what day it was. Then he remembered. Today was the day. The benefit concert. 2,000 people would be there. The theater had sold out in less than 3 hours when tickets went on sale. Marcus sat up and looked around his small apartment. It still felt strange to have his own space. The piano sat against the wall waiting. He had played it every single day since it arrived. Sometimes for hours, sometimes just for a few minutes. It never got old. The feeling of having a piano whenever he wanted one. The freedom to practice at midnight if he felt like it. The joy of creating music in his own private space. He got out of bed and walked to the window. The city looked beautiful in the morning light. Marcus thought about all the things that had happened in the past 6 weeks. It felt like 6 years. His whole life had changed. He had a home now. A mentor, friends, purpose, hope. Real hope, not just the tiny flame he had before. A bright, burning hope that filled his chest and made him believe in tomorrow. But today he also felt nervous. Very nervous. His hands were shaking a little as he made coffee. What if he made mistakes during the performance? What if he disappointed everyone? What if people expected too much? The viral video had been seen by over 20 million people now. 20 million. Marcus could not imagine that many people. What if they all expected him to be perfect? He tried to eat breakfast, but his stomach felt tight. He could only manage a few bites of toast. He looked at the clock. The concert was at 7 in the evening. He had the whole day to get through first. How would he survive all these hours of waiting? His phone rang. It was Dr. Kowalski. "Good morning, Marcus. How are you feeling?" Her voice was calm and warm. "Nervous," Marcus admitted. "Very nervous. That is normal. Every performer feels nervous before a big concert. Even me after all these years. Do you know what I do when I feel nervous?" "No, what?" "I remind myself why I play. Not for the audience. Not for the critics. Not for fame or money. I play because music is my truth. It is how I speak to the world. When you sit at that piano tonight, remember that. You are not performing for 2,000 people. You are sharing your truth. That is all." Marcus felt a little better after talking to her. He spent the morning playing his piano at home, going through his songs one more time. Not practicing hard, just playing gently, reminding his fingers of the melodies, reminding his heart of the emotions behind each song. At noon, David called. "Hey Marcus, I'm coming to pick you up at 4. That gives us plenty of time to get to the theater, get you settled in the green room and prepared. Sound good?" "Yes, okay," Marcus said. His voice sounded small. "Marcus, you're going to be amazing. I have complete faith in you. What if I mess up?" "Then you mess up. It happens. Even the greatest musicians make mistakes. But I don't think you will. When you play with your heart like you do, the music takes care of itself." Marcus tried to relax for the rest of the afternoon. He took a shower. He put on the new clothes that David had helped him buy for the concert. A simple black suit, a white shirt, black shoes. When he looked at himself in the mirror, he almost did not recognize the person staring back. He looked professional, respectable, like a real musician, not like the man in worn clothes who had approached that mall piano 6 weeks ago. At 4 o'clock exactly, David knocked on his door. Marcus grabbed his backpack. Inside was his notebook. He always kept it with him. It was his security blanket. His connection to all the days before this. All the songs he wrote when he had nothing else. They drove to the theater in David's car. Marcus watched the city pass by through the window. His city. The place where he had lost everything and then found it again. The place where he had been invisible and then seen. He felt grateful for every moment, even the hard ones. They had made him who he was. The theater was a beautiful old building in the downtown area. Marcus had walked past it many times when he was homeless, never imagining he would perform there one day. Now, as they pulled up to the back entrance, he saw his name on a poster. Marcus Williams, a benefit concert, his name. On a real concert poster. He wanted to take a picture but felt shy about it. Inside, the theater was busy with activity. People were setting up equipment, testing lights, arranging seats. A woman with a clipboard came over and introduced herself as Linda, the stage manager. She showed Marcus to the green room, a small comfortable room with a couch, a mirror, and a table with water and snacks. "You can relax here until showtime," Linda said. "The other musicians will use the room next door. If you need anything, just press this button and someone will come help you." Marcus sat down on the couch. His hands were still shaking. David sat next to him. "Do you want me to stay or do you need some alone time?" David asked. "Stay, please," Marcus said. "I don't want to be alone right now." "Okay, want to play cards? It might help take your mind off things." They played cards for a while. Marcus lost every game because he could not concentrate. His mind kept jumping ahead to the performance, to the moment when he would walk onto that stage, to the 2,000 faces looking at him. At 5:30, Dr. Kowalski arrived. She came into the green room with a big smile and hugged Marcus tightly. "How is my student doing?" she asked. "Scared," Marcus said honestly. "Good. If you were not scared, I would be worried. Fear means you care. It means this matters to you." She sat down and took his hands in hers. "Marcus, I have taught many students over the years. Some were more technically skilled than you. Some had more training. But none of them had what you have. You play with your soul. Every note comes from a real place. That is rare. That is precious. Tonight, all you need to do is be yourself. Play like you played at the mall, with your eyes closed, with your whole heart. That is when you are most powerful. Marcus nodded. Her words helped. They always did. Thank you for believing in me, he said quietly. Thank you for not giving up on yourself, she replied. At 6 o'clock, people started arriving at the theater. Marcus could hear voices and movement through the walls. He peeked out from backstage and saw the theater filling up. Every seat would be taken. He saw families, old people, young people, people in fancy clothes, people in regular clothes, all coming to hear him play. He saw Margaret, the elderly woman from the mall, being shown to her front row seat. She wore a nice dress and had a big smile on her face. She looked around the theater with wonder, and when she glanced toward the stage, Marcus ducked back so she would not see him watching. He wanted it to be a surprise when he came out. At 6:30, Linda came to tell him it was almost time. The opening musicians would play first, then there would be a short break. Then Marcus would perform. His set would be about 45 minutes long. 6 songs from his notebook. 6 pieces of his heart. Marcus heard the opening musicians begin. They were good. A string quartet playing classical music. The sound drifted back to the green room, beautiful and precise. When they finished, the audience applauded warmly. Then another group performed. A jazz trio, then a young violinist. All local musicians who had volunteered their time for this benefit concert. Finally, it was time. Linda came to get Marcus. "You're on in 5 minutes," she said. Marcus stood up. His legs felt weak. His heart was pounding so hard he thought everyone must be able to hear it. David squeezed his shoulder. "You've got this." Dr. Kowalski kissed his forehead. "Play with your truth." Marcus walked to the side of the stage. He could see the grand piano waiting in the center, lit by a spotlight. It was beautiful, black and shiny and perfect. He could hear the audience talking, their voices creating a low hum of sound. The theater director walked onto the stage to introduce him. The audience grew quiet. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Your support means everything to our community and to the musicians we are helping through this benefit. Now it is my honor to introduce someone very special. 6 weeks ago, a video went viral showing a man playing piano at the downtown mall. That video has now been viewed over 20 million times. The man in that video is Marcus Williams, and tonight, he is here to share more of his incredible gift with us. Please welcome Marcus Williams." The audience erupted in applause. Marcus took a deep breath. This was it. He walked onto the stage. The lights were bright. The applause was loud. Marcus walked to the piano, his eyes adjusting to the spotlight. He could barely see the audience through the lights, which made it a little easier. He sat down on the piano bench and adjusted it slightly. His hands rested on his lap for a moment. Then he looked out at the crowd. He still could not see faces clearly, but he could feel them. 2,000 people, all here, all waiting, all hoping for something beautiful. Marcus thought about everything that had led to this moment. His mother teaching him that music was a gift. His years of training. His fall into homelessness. His despair. That day at the mall when Richard Blackwell yelled at him. Margaret standing up for him. That first perfect moment of playing. All of it had brought him here. He placed his hands on the keys. The audience grew completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Marcus closed his eyes. Just like at the mall. Just like Dr. Kowalski told him. He shut out everything except the music, and he began to play. Then came the 4th song, Streetlights. This one was about walking the city at night when you have nowhere to go, about watching people in warm homes through windows, about feeling outside of life looking in. The melody wandered and drifted, never quite finding a home key. It felt restless, searching, unsettled. Several people in the audience were crying openly now. The 5th song brought a change. It was called Small Kindnesses. Marcus wrote it about all the people who helped him even in small ways. The shelter worker who always smiled at him. The person who gave him a sandwich. The stranger who said good morning. Margaret who stood up for him. The melody was warmer, hopeful. It had moments of light breaking through darkness. The left hand played steady, like a heartbeat that keeps going, while the right hand played delicate, beautiful phrases like small gifts. The audience felt the shift. They leaned back slightly. Some smiled through their tears. The music was telling them that even in darkness there is light. Even when we have nothing, there is something. Love, kindness, connection. Finally, the sixth song, the one everyone had been waiting for. The one from the viral video. Marcus had not given it a name then, but now it was called The Piano That Welcomed Me. This was the song that changed his life. The song that brought him to this moment. He played it exactly as he had at the mall. Eyes closed. Heart open. Every note perfectly placed. But somehow it was even more powerful here. In this beautiful theater. With perfect acoustics. With 2,000 people listening in complete silence. The music filled every corner of the space. It swelled and soared and whispered and sang. Marcus poured everything into this performance. Every feeling he had felt in the past 6 weeks. The shock of going viral. The overwhelming generosity of strangers. The fear that it might all disappear. The gratitude, the hope, the joy of having a second chance. All of it went into the music. The melody climbed higher and higher, building to a crescendo that made people grip their armrests. Then it softened again, became gentle, became peaceful, like finally coming home after a long, hard journey. The final notes rang out clear and pure, and Marcus held the last chord, letting it fade naturally into silence. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The silence felt sacred. Then the audience exploded. People leaped to their feet. The applause was like thunder. It was not polite theater applause. It was raw emotion. People were shouting, cheering, crying, clapping until their hands hurt. The noise was overwhelming. Marcus opened his eyes slowly. He looked out at the standing audience and felt tears running down his own face. He stood up from the piano bench and bowed. The applause got even louder somehow. He bowed again. People were still cheering. Someone shouted, "Bravo!" Others joined in. "Bravo, bravo!" The theater echoed with it. Marcus looked at the front row and found Margaret. She was standing with her hands clasped over her heart, tears streaming down her face. When she saw him looking at her, she blew him a kiss. Marcus smiled and nodded at her. Dr. Kowalski was standing in the wings with tears running down her face too. She nodded at him with pride. David was next to her, grinning huge and giving him a thumbs up. The applause went on for over 5 minutes. Finally, it started to quiet down a little, but the audience did not sit down. They stayed standing. Someone in the back started shouting, "Encore! Encore!" The whole audience picked it up. "Encore! Encore!" Marcus had not prepared an encore. He did not expect this. He looked at Dr. Kowalski in the wings. She was laughing and crying at the same time. She made a motion like she was playing piano. "Play anything," the gesture said. "They want more." Marcus sat back down at the piano. The audience immediately went quiet again. He thought for a moment. What should he play? Then he knew. He would play something he had never played for anyone. A song he wrote just 2 days ago. A song about this moment, about transformation, about gratitude. He had not even named it yet. He placed his hands on the keys and began to play. This song was different from the others. It was pure joy. The melody danced and laughed. It was playful and light and full of celebration. It said thank you. It said I am alive. It said miracles are real. The audience swayed with the music. Some people had their eyes closed now, just like Marcus, experiencing the moment fully, letting the music wash over them. When the song ended, the applause started all over again. But this time Marcus stood up and bowed quickly, then walked off the stage. If he stayed, they would keep asking for more, and he did not want to push his luck. He wanted to end on this perfect moment. Backstage, people crowded around him. Dr. Kowalski hugged him tight. That was magnificent. Better than I ever dreamed. David was laughing. "Marcus, you killed it!" That was incredible. Linda, the stage manager, was wiping her eyes. "I've worked in this theater for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like that. Never." Other musicians who had performed earlier came to shake his hand and congratulate him. Everyone wanted to tell him how much the music moved them, how it made them feel, how they would never forget this night. After a few minutes, Linda said the audience wanted to meet him. Was he ready? Marcus nodded. He was exhausted but also energized, like he could run a marathon and sleep for a week at the same time. They led him to the lobby where a meet and greet had been set up. A long line of people waited to talk to him, to shake his hand, to thank him. Marcus spent over an hour talking to people. Each person had something to say. An older man with gray hair and tears in his eyes said, "Your music reminded me why I became a music teacher 40 years ago. Thank you for that gift." A young woman said, I'm studying piano at the university. I was thinking about quitting. After hearing you tonight, I know I have to keep going. You reminded me why I love music. A mother with 2 children said, "My kids ask me what beautiful means. I told them to remember this concert. This is beautiful." A man in a wheelchair said, "I've been depressed for months. Your music made me feel something again, made me feel alive again. Thank you." On and on it went. Story after story. Person after person, all touched by the music, all changed in some small way by what they heard tonight. Finally, Margaret came through the line. She did not say anything at first. She just hugged Marcus tightly. Then she pulled back and looked at him with her kind eyes. "I knew," she said simply. "That day at the mall, I knew you were special. I'm so glad I spoke up. I'm so glad the world gets to hear you now." "Thank you," Marcus said, his voice breaking. "Thank you for seeing me when nobody else did. The gift was always there, dear. You just needed a chance to share it." By the time the meet and greet ended, it was almost 11 at night. Marcus was completely drained. His face hurt from smiling. His hand hurt from shaking so many hands. But his heart felt full, fuller than it had felt in years. David drove him home. They did not talk much in the car. There was not much to say. The night had been perfect. The music had spoken for itself. When Marcus got back to his apartment, he sat down at his piano. He did not play. He just sat there, his hands resting on the keys, thinking about everything that had happened. 6 weeks ago, he was sleeping in a shelter. Tonight, he had performed for 2,000 people in a sold-out concert. Life was strange, unpredictable, painful, and beautiful at the same time. His phone buzzed. It was a text from David. The local news recorded the concert. It will air tomorrow. Also, the videos people took are already going viral online. "It's happening again, Marcus. You're blowing up." Marcus smiled. He was too tired to worry about that now. He would deal with tomorrow when it came. Tonight, he just wanted to sit in the quiet and be grateful. Grateful for second chances. Grateful for people who believed in him. Grateful for music that kept him alive when he had nothing else. Grateful for the journey, even the hard parts, because they made this moment possible. He finally went to bed around midnight. As he lay in his own bed, in his own apartment with his own piano just a few feet away, Marcus thought about Richard Blackwell shouting at him, "Don't touch my piano, poor guy." Those words had hurt so much. But now Marcus understood something important. Richard was right about one thing. Marcus was a poor guy back then. But being poor did not mean being worthless. Did not mean having no talent. Did not mean having no value. Marcus was always a musician, always had the gift. Being homeless did not change that. It just hid it for a while. And now the world knew. Now millions of people knew. Not just about his poverty or his struggle, but about his music, his real identity, his truth. That was the greatest gift of all. Being seen for who he really was. Not the homeless man, not the poor guy, but Marcus Williams, pianist, composer, musician, artist, human being with dignity and value and something important to offer the world. As he fell asleep, Marcus smiled. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new fears and new hopes. But tonight he could rest. Tonight he had done what he was born to do. He had played piano. He had shared his music. He had touched hearts and changed lives. And that was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything. Marcus woke up the next morning to the sound of his phone ringing. He looked at the clock. It was only 7 in the morning. Who would call so early? He reached for his phone and saw David's name on the screen. "Hello?" Marcus said, his voice still heavy with sleep. "Marcus, have you looked online this morning?" David sounded excited. More excited than Marcus had ever heard him. "No, I just woke up." "What's happening?" "The videos from last night are everywhere. I mean everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. People recorded your whole performance and they're sharing it like crazy. Some videos already have millions of views. And the comments, Marcus. You need to read the comments." Marcus sat up in bed, suddenly more awake. "Millions?" "Yes. And that's not all. My phone has been ringing since 6 this morning. Recording studios, concert promoters, music festivals. Everyone wants to talk to you. Marcus, this is really happening. Your career is taking off." Marcus felt dizzy. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet. Just take a shower and get dressed. I'm coming over in an hour." We need to talk about all these offers and figure out what makes sense for you. Okay? Okay, Marcus said quietly. After he hung up, Marcus just sat in his bed for a few minutes. His mind was racing. He got up and made coffee, then sat at his small table with his laptop. David had taught him how to use it over the past few weeks. Marcus opened the internet browser and searched for his name. The results shocked him. There were hundreds of articles, news sites, music blogs, entertainment websites, all talking about him, all sharing the concert videos. He clicked on one video and watched himself perform The Piano That Welcomed Me. The video had 5 million views already. 5 million, and it was posted only 12 hours ago. He scrolled through the comments. There were thousands of them. This man is a gift to the world. I can't stop crying. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. True talent doesn't need fancy production or auto-tune, just raw emotion and skill. Someone, give this man a record deal immediately. I would pay any price to hear him perform live. His story gives me hope that it's never too late for second chances. Marcus read comment after comment. Most were kind and encouraging. Some people shared their own struggles. Some people said the music helped them through hard times. Some people just wanted to express how much it moved them. But there were also negative comments. Not many, but they were there. This is all fake. Probably a publicity stunt. He's not that good. People just like the sob story. I've heard better pianists. This is just hype. These comments hurt, but Marcus tried to remember what David told him. You can't please everyone. Some people will always find something negative to say. Focus on the ones who truly connect with your music. An hour later, David arrived with coffee and breakfast sandwiches. He also brought a thick folder full of papers. Okay, David said, spreading the papers across Marcus's small table. Let's go through these offers one by one. There are a lot, so this might take a while. They spent the next 3 hours reviewing everything. A major recording label from New York wanted to sign Marcus to a 5-album deal. A concert promoter wanted to book him for a world tour. A music festival in Europe invited him to be their headlining performer. A documentary filmmaker wanted to make a film about his life. 3 different publishers wanted him to write a book. A late-night TV show wanted him as a guest. A symphony orchestra wanted to commission an original composition from him. Marcus's head was spinning. This is too much. I don't know how to choose, David nodded. I know it's overwhelming. Here's what I think. We should be strategic. Not every opportunity is right for you, especially right now. Some of these offers are great. Some are just trying to cash in on your viral fame. We need to pick the ones that align with what you actually want to do with your music. What do I want? Marcus asked. It was a good question. A month ago, all he wanted was to play piano sometimes. Now he had to think about his career, his future, his goals. Let me ask you this, David said. If money and fame weren't factors, what would you want to do with your music? Marcus thought for a moment. I want to play, to compose, to share music with people who need it. People like me, people who are struggling. I don't care about being rich or famous. I just want to do what I love and help others if I can. David smiled. That's what I thought you'd say. So let's focus on offers that match that vision. He pulled out a few papers. The recording studio offer is good. They want to record an album of your original compositions. No commercial pop songs. No compromises. Just you and your music. That seems like a good fit. Marcus nodded. That did sound good. The concert promoter wants a world tour, but I think that's too much too soon. You've only done one public performance. Let's start smaller. There's an offer here from a classical music organization. They want you to do a series of intimate concerts. Small venues. Maybe 500 people each. That feels more manageable and more aligned with your style. Yes, that sounds better, Marcus agreed. The documentary filmmaker seems genuine. I checked her background. She's made some really good films about artists and musicians. She's not exploitative. She wants to tell your story honestly. I think that could be valuable, especially if it helps other people who are struggling. They went through more offers. Some they put in the yes pile, some in the maybe pile, most in the no pile. Marcus was grateful for David's guidance. Without him, Marcus would have been completely lost. What about the music festival in Europe? Marcus asked. That one had caught his attention. That one is interesting, David said. It's one of the most prestigious classical music festivals in the world. They only invite top performers. The fact that they invited you after just one concert shows how much impact you've made. But it's 6 months away. Let's put it in the maybe pile for now. We can decide later when you have more experience, Marcus agreed. 6 months felt both very far away and very close. Just then, Marcus's phone rang. It was Dr. Kowalski. He put her on speaker so David could hear too. Marcus, have you seen the news this morning? She asked. Yes, David told me. It's crazy. It is wonderful, Dr. Kowalski said. But I am calling about something specific. The dean of the music academy called me this morning. He wants to offer you something. He wants you to be an artist in residence at the academy. You would have access to all our practice rooms and performance spaces. You could teach some master classes if you wanted. Work on your compositions. And we would pay you a salary. It would give you stability while you build your career. Marcus looked at David, who was nodding enthusiastically. That sounds amazing, Marcus said. But why would they want me? I'm not a professor. I don't even have a degree, Dr. Kowalski laughed. Marcus, you have something better than a degree. You have genuine talent and a powerful story. Our students would learn so much from you. Not just about technique, but about resilience. About staying true to your art even when life is hard. Please consider it. I will. Thank you, Dr. Kowalski. There is one more thing, she added. A very famous pianist called me this morning. Robert Chen, do you know who he is? Marcus's eyes went wide. Robert Chen? Of course I know him. He's one of the greatest living pianists in the world. Well, he saw your concert video. He wants to meet you. He's coming to the city next week for a performance, and he asked if you would have dinner with him. I think he wants to mentor you. Marcus could not believe it. Robert Chen. The Robert Chen wanted to meet him. Marcus had listened to his recordings for years, had studied his technique, had dreamed of playing like him someday. Yes, Marcus managed to say. Yes, I would love to meet him. After the phone call ended, Marcus sat back in his chair, feeling overwhelmed again. This is all happening so fast, I know, David said gently. But this is good, Marcus. These are the kinds of opportunities that most musicians work their whole lives for. You're getting them because your talent is real and your story touched people's hearts. You deserve this. Do I, though? Marcus asked quietly. There are so many talented people out there who never get a chance. Why me? David looked at him seriously. Because you didn't give up. Even when you had nothing, you kept your music alive in that notebook. You kept believing in yourself, at least enough to walk up to that piano. That takes courage. That takes something special. And when you played, people felt that. They felt your truth. That's why you. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. He wiped them away quickly. Thank you for believing in me, David. I don't know where I'd be without your help. You'd probably still be amazing, David smiled. I just helped open some doors. You're the one walking through them. Over the next few days, more opportunities kept coming. A famous singer wanted Marcus to write music for her next album. A movie director wanted to use his songs in an upcoming film. A children's hospital asked if he would come play piano for the young patients. A university wanted him to give a lecture about creativity and overcoming obstacles. Marcus said yes to the children's hospital immediately. That one felt right. The others he would think about. He also spent time reading emails and messages from regular people. Hundreds of them poured in every day. People sharing their stories, their struggles, their hopes. Many were from other homeless people or people who had been homeless. Dear Marcus, I'm 19 years old and I've been homeless for 6 months. I play guitar, but I haven't played in weeks because I felt like it didn't matter, like nobody would care. Then I saw your video. It reminded me that music is what makes me feel human. Last night I got my guitar out and played for the first time in weeks. I played for 2 hours and it felt amazing. Thank you for reminding me who I am. Your story saved me. Marcus read this message 3 times. Then he wrote back. He told Tyler to keep playing. To never give up. That music matters even when nobody is listening. Especially when nobody is listening. That's when it matters most. Marcus tried to respond to as many messages as he could. Some people just needed to be heard. Needed someone to acknowledge their pain. Marcus understood that feeling better than most. He remembered what it was like to be invisible. To have nobody see you or care about your struggles. If he could make even one person feel less alone, it was worth it. A week after the concert, David arranged several important meetings. First, they met with the recording studio executives. 3 people in expensive suits sat across from Marcus and David in a big conference room. They talked about their vision for his album, about marketing plans, about tour support, About money. Marcus's head spun with all the numbers. The advance they were offering was more money than he had made in the last 5 years combined. It felt unreal. "We believe in your talent," the main executive said. "We want to give you complete creative control. This will be your album, your vision. We're just here to help make it the best it can be." Marcus liked that. He signed the contract, though David had to explain many of the terms to him. Legal language was confusing, but David assured him it was a fair deal. Next, they met with the documentary filmmaker, a woman named Sarah Rodriguez. She was in her 40s with kind eyes and a genuine smile. She showed Marcus some of her previous work, films about artists who overcame addiction, musicians from difficult backgrounds, stories of creativity and resilience. "I don't want to make you into a hero or a victim," Sarah explained. "I want to show the real you, the complexity, the struggle and the triumph. I want people to see your humanity, not just your talent or your circumstances." Marcus appreciated her honesty. "Okay, let's do it." Sarah's face lit up. "Really? You'll let me film?" "Yes. If it can help other people understand what homelessness is really like, what it feels like to lose everything, then it's worth sharing. Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" "Don't make it sad all the way through. Show the hard parts, but also show that things can get better. I want people to have hope, not just pity." Sarah nodded. "That's exactly what I want to show. The hope, the second chances, the proof that circumstances don't define us." The third meeting was with the classical music organization that wanted him to do a series of intimate concerts. They proposed 10 concerts over the next 6 months. Small venues in different cities. Nothing overwhelming. Just Marcus, a piano, and audiences who loved classical music. "We think you could bring new audiences to classical music," the organizer explained. "Young people. People who never thought they'd enjoy piano concerts. Your story and your style can bridge that gap." Marcus liked this idea too, making classical music accessible to everyone. Not just people who could afford expensive tickets. Not just people with music education. Everyone. They talked about ticket prices. Marcus insisted that some seats at each concert should be free or very cheap. "I want people like me to be able to come. People who can't afford much. They need music too. Maybe more than anyone." The organizer smiled. "We can make that work." Over dinner that night, David and Marcus reviewed everything they had agreed to. "You're going to be busy," David said. "Recording an album. Doing a concert series. The documentary filming. Your work at the Music Academy. Are you sure you can handle all of this?" Marcus thought about it. 2 months ago, he had nothing to do. Nowhere to be. All day, every day was empty. Now his calendar was filling up fast, but it was filling with purpose. With music. With meaning. "Yes," he said confidently. "I can handle it. This is what I've always wanted. To do music full-time. To share it with people. I'm not going to waste this chance." "Good," David smiled. "Just remember to take care of yourself too. Rest when you need to. Don't burn out." The next week, Marcus had dinner with Robert Chen. They met at a quiet restaurant downtown. Marcus was so nervous he could barely eat. Robert Chen was a legend, one of the greatest pianists alive, and he was sitting across the table, talking to Marcus like they were old friends. "Your concert video moved me deeply," Robert said. His voice was gentle and thoughtful. "I've performed in the greatest concert halls in the world. I've played for presidents and kings, but I've never seen an audience react the way yours did. You have something special." "Thank you," Marcus said quietly. "Your recordings inspired me when I was learning. I used to practice your interpretations over and over." Robert smiled. "Technique can be taught. Precision can be practiced. But the quality you have, the emotional truth in your playing, that can't be learned. Either you have it or you don't, you have it." They talked for hours. About music. About life. About the pressure of performance. About staying creative and avoiding burnout. Robert shared stories from his career. The mistakes he made. The lessons he learned. The times he almost gave up. "People think success is easy once you make it," Robert said. "But it brings its own challenges. The pressure to be perfect. The fear of disappointing people. The difficulty of maintaining inspiration. You're about to experience all of this. I want you to know you can call me anytime. For advice. For support. For whatever you need." Marcus felt his eyes getting wet. "Why are you being so kind to me?" Robert looked at him seriously. Because when I was young, someone did the same for me. A famous pianist took me under his wing when I was nobody. He said, talent is a gift, but it's also a responsibility. You have to pass it forward. So that's what I'm doing. Passing it forward to you. Before they parted that night, Robert gave Marcus his personal phone number. I mean it. Call me anytime. Marcus walked home that night feeling like he was living in a dream. Robert Chen's number was in his phone. He had a recording contract, concert bookings, a position at the music academy, money in his bank account, a home, a future. He thought about all the people who helped him get here. Margaret, who stood up for him. Dr. Kowalski, who believed in him. David, who guided him. Robert Chen, who offered mentorship. The thousands of strangers who supported him online. Even Richard Blackwell in a strange way because his cruelty set everything in motion. But Marcus also thought about all the people still struggling. Still homeless. Still invisible. Still waiting for their chance. He thought about Tyler living in his car. About John and Sarah still at the shelter. About all the talented people the world never sees because they don't have opportunities or support. That night, Marcus made a decision. When he got home, he called David. I want to start a foundation, Marcus said, for musicians who are homeless or struggling. I want to help them the way people helped me. David was quiet for a moment. Then he said, That's a beautiful idea, Marcus. Tell me what you're thinking. I want to provide instruments, lessons, access to practice spaces, performance opportunities. Not just charity. Real support. Real chances. And I want to help shelters create music programs. Let people express themselves. Give them something to hold on to when everything else is falling apart. When do you want to start? As soon as possible. Can you help me set it up? Of course I can. Let's do it. Over the next few weeks, while Marcus prepared for his album recording and concerts, David helped him establish the All Welcome Foundation. The name came from the sign on the mall piano. The sign that said everyone was welcome, even though Marcus had not felt welcome at first. His foundation would actually mean it. Everyone would truly be welcome. They set up a website, created a donation system, reached out to shelters and community centers, started collecting used instruments from people who wanted to donate. Within days, money started coming in. Small donations from regular people who wanted to support the cause. Larger donations from wealthy individuals touched by Marcus's story. Marcus visited the shelter where he used to live. He brought 5 keyboards that people had donated. He set them up in the common room and told Mr. Peterson that anyone could use them any time. John was there. He came up to Marcus with tears in his eyes. You didn't forget about us. I could never forget, Marcus said. This is where I survived. Where people treated me with dignity when the outside world didn't. I'm going to make sure other places like this have music too. Sarah came over and hugged him. Look at you. Living your dream. Making a difference. I'm so proud of you. Marcus spent the afternoon teaching a few interested people some basic piano. A young woman who always loved music but never had lessons. An older man who used to play guitar and wanted to try something new. A teenager who had nothing to do all day and needed a purpose. Watching them press the keys for the first time, seeing their faces light up with joy, Marcus understood something. This was why all of it happened. Not just so he could have a career, but so he could open doors for others. So he could be to them what Margaret and David and Dr. Kowalski had been to him. 3 months passed quickly. Marcus barely had time to breathe. His days were full of music, work, and purpose. He recorded his album over 6 intense weeks in a professional studio. The experience was both thrilling and exhausting. He would arrive at the studio at 9 in the morning and sometimes stay until midnight, playing the same pieces over and over until they were perfect. The producer was a patient man named Michael, who understood Marcus's vision. He did not try to make the music more commercial or trendy. He let Marcus be Marcus. Raw, emotional, true. They recorded 12 original compositions, each one telling a different part of Marcus's story. The album would be called The Piano That Welcomed Me. During the recording process, Sarah, the documentary filmmaker, was often there with her camera. At first, having someone film him constantly felt strange and uncomfortable. But Sarah was so quiet and respectful that Marcus learned to ignore the camera. She captured him working, struggling with difficult passages, celebrating when he finally got something right, talking about what each piece meant to him. One day during a break, Sarah asked him a question. "Marcus, do you ever feel angry about what happened to you? About being homeless? About how people treated you?" Marcus thought for a long moment. "Sometimes. When I remember Richard yelling at me, I feel angry. When I think about all the people who walked past me like I was invisible, I feel hurt. But mostly I feel grateful now." "Grateful?" Sarah seemed surprised. "Yes, because if none of that happened, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have written these songs. I wouldn't understand what really matters in life. Pain teaches us things that comfort never can. My struggle made my music deeper, more real. I wouldn't trade that even though it was terrible to live through." Sarah smiled behind the camera. "That's beautiful. That's exactly the kind of perspective I want to capture." The album recording finished in early December. Marcus listened to the final mix with Michael, David, and Dr. Kowalski. When the last notes of the last song faded out, they all sat in silence for a moment. "It's perfect," Dr. Kowalski finally said, wiping her eyes. "Marcus, this is a masterpiece," Michael nodded. "I've produced over 100 albums in my career. This one is special. People are going to remember this." The album was scheduled to release in January. But first, Marcus had his concert series to complete. He had already performed 5 of the 10 concerts. Each one was sold out. Each one was in a different city. Each one was magical in its own way. In Boston, an elderly woman came up to him after the performance. She told him she had not left her house in months because of depression, but she forced herself to come to his concert. "Your music reminded me that life is still beautiful," she said with tears streaming down her face. "Thank you for that gift." In Chicago, a young homeless man waited by the stage door. He was nervous and shy. "I'm a musician too," he said quietly, showing Marcus a worn harmonica. "Seeing what happened to you gives me hope that maybe I have a chance too." Marcus talked with him for 20 minutes. Got his contact information. Later, he connected the young man with his foundation. 2 weeks after that, Marcus learned the young man was now staying in a shelter that had the foundation's music program. He was playing harmonica every day and writing his own songs. Stories like this happened at every concert. People touched by the music. Lives changed by hope. Marcus realized his purpose was bigger than just playing piano. It was about showing people that transformation is possible, that circumstances don't define us, that we all have value, even when the world doesn't see it. In Philadelphia, Marcus did something special. He announced that 50 seats in the concert hall were reserved for homeless people. Free tickets. No questions asked. Just show up. Some people in fancy clothes complained, said it was inappropriate, that homeless people might cause problems, but Marcus insisted, "Some of my best friends are homeless. They deserve music as much as anyone, maybe more than anyone." Those 50 seats were filled. People from shelters, people from the streets, people who had not been inside a concert hall in years or ever. Marcus played for them like they were royalty. After the concert, many of them stayed to talk with him, to thank him, to cry, to share their stories. One man said something Marcus would never forget. "You made me feel human again tonight. Like I matter. Like I'm not just trash on the street. Thank you for that." Marcus hugged him and cried. This was why everything happened. Not for fame or money. For moments like this. For the chance to give dignity to people who had been stripped of it. December was also when Marcus started his work at the Music Academy. He was officially an artist in residence. He had his own practice studio, his own office, and twice a week he taught master classes to the students. The first class was terrifying. 20 young musicians sat looking at him expectantly. Marcus felt like a fraud. These students had years of formal training. Many came from wealthy families. What could he possibly teach them? But Dr. Kowalski reminded him before class, "You have something they need more than technique. You have perspective. You have passion that comes from struggle. You have understanding that music is not just notes on a page. It's survival. It's identity. It's truth. Teach them that." So Marcus did. He did not focus on technical perfection. He focused on emotional honesty. He told them his story, about losing everything, about keeping music alive in a notebook when he had no piano, about playing at the mall with his eyes closed because he needed to shut out the judgment and fear. "Music is not about impressing people," Marcus said. "It's about expressing truth. Your truth. When you sit at the piano, play like your life depends on it, because sometimes it does. Music saved my life. Let it save yours too." The students were quiet for a long moment. Then one young woman raised her hand. I've been feeling so much pressure to be perfect. To play every note exactly right. To win competitions. I forgot why I love music. You just reminded me. Thank you, others nodded. They felt the same way. The pressure. The competition. The fear of failure. Marcus understood. He had felt those things too before everything fell apart, but losing everything taught him what actually mattered. Not perfection. Not competition. Connection. Truth. Love. Word spread about Marcus's classes. Soon students were signing up months in advance just to attend one session. He became one of the most popular teachers at the academy, even though he was not a formal professor. Even though he had no degree. His students learned more from his perspective than they did from textbooks and traditional methods. The foundation was growing too. By December, the All Welcome Foundation had provided over 100 instruments to shelters and community centers. They had funded music therapy programs in 15 cities. They had given 20 struggling musicians small grants to help them get back on their feet. Marcus hired a small staff to run the foundation day to day. An executive director named Patricia, who used to run homeless services. A program coordinator named James, who was formerly homeless himself and understood the population. An outreach worker named Lisa, who connected with shelters and found musicians who needed help. But Marcus stayed involved personally. He visited shelters when he could. He played piano for people. He listened to their stories. He never forgot where he came from. Never took for granted how lucky he was to get a second chance. One cold evening in mid-December, Marcus visited a shelter in the city. It was not the one where he used to stay, a smaller place with only 30 beds. The foundation had donated 3 keyboards there a few weeks earlier. Marcus wanted to see how people were using them. When he arrived, he found a young girl sitting at one of the keyboards. She was maybe 10 years old. She was pressing keys randomly, not making real music, just exploring the sounds. Her mother sat nearby, looking exhausted and sad. Marcus walked over gently. Hi there. Do you like the piano? The girl looked up at him with big eyes. She nodded, but did not speak. Would you like me to show you a few things? Marcus asked. The girl nodded again, this time with a small smile. Marcus sat next to her at the keyboard. He showed her where middle C was, how to make a simple melody, how to use both hands together. The girl watched carefully, then tried herself. Her fingers were small and uncertain, but she was trying. Her mother came over. That's very kind of you. She's been sitting there every day since that piano arrived. I think it makes her feel better. Everything has been so hard lately. I understand, Marcus said gently. Music helps. It really does. He spent an hour teaching the little girl basic skills. By the end, she could play a simple song. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. She played it over and over, so proud of herself. Her mother was crying quiet tears of joy. When Marcus left that night, he felt full. This was the work that mattered. Not the concerts or the fame or the album. This giving a little girl hope. Giving her mother a moment of joy. Creating beauty in a place full of struggle. Christmas came. It was Marcus's first Christmas not in poverty in almost a year. He spent it with David and his family. They welcomed Marcus like he was part of their family. David's kids were excited to meet the famous piano player. They asked him to play Christmas songs after dinner. Marcus sat at David's piano and played carols while everyone sang. It was simple and perfect and full of love. On Christmas night, Marcus went home to his apartment. After that concert, a man came up to Marcus. He was in his 50s with gray hair. I lost my wife last year, the man said, his voice shaking. I haven't cried about it yet. I couldn't. Tonight, your music unlocked something in me. I cried for the first time in 14 months. Thank you for that healing. Marcus hugged him. They stood there together, 2 strangers connected by grief and music and shared humanity. This was what music was supposed to do. Break down walls, create connection, help people feel less alone. The final concert of the series was in his home city. The same city where he had been homeless just months ago. The same city where Richard Blackwell had yelled at him. The same city where everything changed. Coming full circle felt right. But before the concert, Marcus wanted to do something special. He went back to the mall where it all started. He did not tell anyone he was coming. He just showed up one afternoon with his backpack, wearing simple clothes, looking almost like he did 6 months ago. The piano was still there in the center court. Marcus sat down on the bench. People were shopping, walking by, not paying much attention. He closed his eyes and started to play. Slowly, people began to stop, to listen, to gather. Someone recognized him. "That's Marcus Williams." Word spread quickly. More people came. Within minutes, a huge crowd had formed. Security guards appeared, but they were not there to kick him out. They were there to manage the crowd, to keep things safe. Marcus played for 30 minutes straight. He played his original songs. He played pieces from his album. He played like he did that first day, eyes closed, heart open, lost in the music. When he finished, the applause was deafening. People were cheering and crying and filming on their phones. Richard Blackwell pushed through the crowd. He looked embarrassed but determined. When he reached Marcus, he spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "Marcus Williams, I owe you an apology. A public apology. 6 months ago, I judged you by your appearance. I treated you with cruelty and disrespect. I tried to stop you from playing this piano. I was wrong. Completely wrong. You have taught me a valuable lesson about not judging people, about recognizing talent and dignity in unexpected places. I am sorry. Please forgive me." The crowd was silent, watching. Marcus looked at Richard for a long moment. He could have been angry, could have made Richard feel worse. But what would that accomplish? Marcus extended his hand. "I forgive you," Marcus said simply. "We all make mistakes. We all have moments we're not proud of. What matters is learning from them, growing, changing. I think you've done that." Richard shook his hand, tears in his eyes. The crowd applauded this too. It was a moment of reconciliation, of grace, of humanity. Marcus looked around at all the faces. "This piano changed my life. This sign that says all welcome gave me hope when I had nothing. I want everyone to know that you really are all welcome. Whether you're rich or poor, young or old, experienced or beginner, music belongs to everyone. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't deserve to play. You do, we all do." More applause, more tears, more videos being shared online. Marcus left the mall that day feeling complete. The circle was closed. He had come back to where it started, not as a homeless man, but as himself. As a musician. As someone who survived and thrived and refused to be defeated. That evening was the final concert of the series. The theater was packed. Every seat sold out within minutes when tickets went on sale. Margaret was there in her front row seat again. Dr. Kowalski, David and his family. Robert Chen flew in special. Sarah the filmmaker, Patricia, James, and Lisa from the foundation, John and Sarah from the shelter. The little girl Marcus taught at the shelter and her mother, Tyler, the young man who wrote him that first message, now doing better and working part-time. All the people who had been part of his journey. Marcus walked onto the stage to a standing ovation before he even played a single note. He bowed deeply, humbled by the response. Then he sat at the piano. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Marcus said into the microphone. "This is the final concert of the series. It's been an incredible journey. 6 months ago, I had nothing. Today, I have everything, not because of money or fame, but because I have purpose. I have music. I have people who believe in me. And most importantly, I have hope. I want to dedicate this concert to everyone who is struggling right now. Everyone who feels invisible. Everyone who thinks their dreams are too big or too impossible. They're not. Keep going. Keep believing. Keep fighting. Your story is not over yet." He played the opening notes of his first song. The theater fell silent except for the music. Marcus closed his eyes and let everything flow through him. All the pain, all the joy, all the fear, all the hope, all the loss, all the love. He poured 6 months of transformation into that piano. 6 months of miracles and hard work and second chances. Song after song, the music told his story. The audience laughed and cried and held their breath and released it. They were not just listening to music. They were experiencing a human journey. From darkness to light, from despair to hope, from nothing to everything. For his final song, Marcus played a new piece he had never performed before. He wrote it just for this concert. He called it Thank You. It was dedicated to every person who helped him. Every person who believed in him. Every person who gave him a chance when he had none. The melody was beautiful and simple. It built slowly, adding layers and complexity, just like his journey had built slowly from that first mall performance to this moment. It reached a climax that was powerful but not overwhelming, triumphant but not arrogant, grateful. That was the main emotion, pure gratitude. When the final note faded, nobody moved for a long time. The silence felt sacred. Then slowly the audience rose to their feet. The applause started quiet and built to a roar. People were not just clapping. They were celebrating, not just Marcus's talent, but the human capacity for resilience, for transformation, for hope. Marcus stood and bowed. Tears ran freely down his face now. He did not hide them. These were good tears, happy tears, grateful tears. He looked at all the faces he could see, all the people who came on this journey with him, who supported him, who believed. "Thank you," he said simply into the microphone. "Thank you for seeing me, for hearing me, for giving me a chance. I will never take it for granted. Never forget where I came from. And I promise to use this gift to help others find their voice too. Music saved my life. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure others have the same chance." The applause somehow got even louder. People were shouting his name. "Marcus, Marcus, Marcus." He bowed one more time, then walked off stage. Backstage, everyone was waiting. Dr. Kowalski hugged him tight. "I am so proud of you, my student." David grinned huge. "You did it, man. You really did it." Robert Chen nodded with approval. That was magnificent. "You are ready for anything now?" Margaret came backstage with special permission. She looked at Marcus with her kind, wise eyes. "I knew," she said again. "I knew you were special. Thank you for proving me right." The rest of the evening was a blur of congratulations and celebration, but eventually, late that night, Marcus went home alone to his apartment. He needed quiet, needed to process everything. He sat at his piano but did not play, just sat there, hands resting on the keys, thinking. 6 months ago he was sleeping in a shelter, owning nothing but a backpack and a notebook, feeling hopeless and invisible, wondering if things would ever get better. And then one day he walked up to a piano. A man yelled at him not to touch it, called him poor guy, tried to stop him, but another woman stood up for him, and he got to play. Just 2 minutes. That's all it was supposed to be. 2 minutes that changed everything. Because when he played, when he closed his eyes and let the music flow, people saw him, really saw him. Not the homeless man, not the poor guy, but Marcus, the musician, the artist, the human being with dignity and value and something beautiful to offer the world. From those 2 minutes came everything else. The viral video, the concerts, the album, the foundation, the career, the hope. All of it grew from one moment of courage, one moment of refusing to stay invisible, one moment of believing that he deserved to play that piano, even when someone told him he didn't. Marcus smiled in the quiet of his apartment. He thought about everyone still out there struggling, still homeless, still invisible, still waiting for their chance. His foundation would help some of them, but it would never be enough. There were too many, too much pain and struggle in the world. But every person helped mattered. Every life changed was a victory. Every musician given a chance was a light in the darkness. Marcus could not save everyone, but he could save some, and he would spend the rest of his life trying. He finally played his piano. Not anything specific, just improvising, letting his fingers wander across the keys, creating melodies that had never existed before, finding new beauty, new possibilities, new hope. As he played, Marcus realized something important. His story was not about going from homeless to famous. It was about never forgetting who he was, even when the world tried to tell him he was nobody. It was about holding on to his truth when everything else was stripped away. It was about the power of art to survive anything, to transform anything, to redeem anything. Music saved him when he had nothing else.